back to the Intimate Reflections channel. Today we are speaking to Ben. This is part 2. If you missed part 1, just go back and take a look at that because you are more likely to need some context. I'd just like you to tell us today, Ben, about your support systems which you've had and kind of what role that they've played and how that's kind of evolved for you when you was obviously in the depths of despair.
Yeah, so when I was in depth of despair, I got to the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, and you welcome there with other people that suffer with addiction, and they say men for men, women for women. So I just kept going to different meetings, and eventually I connected with a sponsor, they call it. So that's someone that kind of accountable for your recovery and go through the 12-step process, what we initially described. And so a sponsor said,
Maybe just speak up.
Yeah, so a sponsor takes you through the 12 steps of recovery, and by going through the 12 steps, it allows you to be in a position, if you're engaging and you're continuing on the journey on a daily basis, puts you in a position where you are recovered from alcoholism.
Right.
People have the arguments whether we're recovered or we're recovering, and some people describe themselves just as an alcoholic. Other people describe themselves as a recovered alcoholic. I'm not sure. I'm sort of sitting on the fence. All I know is I'm always going to be susceptible to alcoholism if I'm not.
Yeah. So that's where the argument could be, that you're not recovered, sort of thing, despite obviously me saying you are. You know, it's really me putting you in a better light, because I think you do deserve to recognise what the achievements which you've made are, you know.
I mean, it's not easy, and like going to the question of support networks, I've had various sponsors during my journey, because I didn't really have the willingness and the so-called the gift of desperation when I came in. I came into recovery, and for me, it was, I knew my problem was my thinking, but I didn't really want to give up drinking. I didn't really know what Alcoholics Anonymous was. I thought I'd just cut down on the alcohol, and that'd be it. It's almost some sort of support network in the sense that you go in and people can help, but you encourage you to cut down drinking, but it's actually refraining from alcohol.
Yeah.
And I found that transition really difficult, because I realised then how serious and how much of a crutch I used alcohol was to control my emotions, and it did to a certain extent until it stopped working.
But you mentioned sponsors.
Yeah.
So kind of who would they be? How would they present themselves?
So, if you go to different meetings and then you get yourself a copy of the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and you start reading, and there's a sponsor, someone that takes you through the 12 steps and takes you through the big book. The 12 steps are contained within the big book. Right. And so for me, just reading the big book and trying to understand the illness of alcoholism is, for me, it's alien. I need someone who's been on that journey to explain, what I'm facing. And
so for the people that don't know what the big book is, what exactly is the big book?
So the big book, what's contained is the 12 steps, and it's a solution for you to be able to refrain from alcohol and be a recovered alcoholic one day at a time. So it's the process of admitting that you're powerless over alcohol, that your life's unmanageable, and then essentially it's coming to believe in a higher power that's going to restore you to sanity. So restore you to sanity of body and mind, and allow you to live comfortable in the world. So you haven't got the need to turn to alcohol.
So I assume that this would be not just a journey of the mind and the body, and and a journey of emotion. But I assume that this would be somewhat a spiritual.
It's a spiritual
journey.
program. It's not a religious program.
No.
Some people treat it as a religious program and they go back to faith. Some people are agnostic. Some people are atheists. For me, on my journey, I would say I'm closer to spiritual because I've never engaged in church, and it wasn't part of my upbringing. So I found that difficult with the concept of God, a higher power. They call it a God of your own understanding. So for me, we're in nature. So people use nature as a higher power. Like we were discussing before about trees and the age of trees.
We've just hugged and kissed some trees, haven't we?
We did,
And
yeah.
that's real.
Yeah, we
real.
have, yeah. And they're living organisms, and it's one of the reasons why we're doing it in nature. Because
I often do it when I'm out with my partner, and she thinks I'm a little bit strange, but that's okay.
yeah.
But
But-
yeah,
So yeah, it's so going to the question again, support network. So I've had sponsors, I've had various sponsors along the way, because I hadn't surrendered, and I hadn't surrendered to engage in this process. But when I did, I didn't get sober straight away. It took me a couple of years in recovery,
yeah,
and when I started the work, I started feeling a bit different inside.
yeah,
We look at our past and we look at causes and conditions.
yeah.
So that's what essentially a sponsor is, to go through the 12 steps, and
Okay.
then we make amends to the people that we've harmed, and we continue to live this way of life on a daily basis. So that's making if we've made mistakes along the way, upset people, we apologise to people, and we live a spiritual life in terms of helping others, meditating, praying, and that's essentially what it is in the support network.
And it is exactly what this channel is. It's an intimate reflection, isn't it? That's exactly what it is. You know, you are intimately self-reflecting upon, and it's also about, you know, understanding and recognizing that you're not perfect.
No,
You never was. You never will be.
no.
And the same applies to every person that, you know, is living today, every person that ever has lived, and every person that ever will live.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's just it's very much a state of mind, isn't it? It's very much a state of mind.
We're on a journey, and they say in recovery we're spiritual beings having human experience.
Correct.
And with support network is, if I am struggling throughout the day, I can call my sponsor. If my sponsor's not available, and they're not always available, people have lives, then I can call other people in recovery. Not just in recovery, I can call you, Paul, if I'm struggling.
Absolutely.
You know,
and sorry to interrupt you, but anybody who engages with this channel, there will be an email address available, which will be down in the bio. And you know, you can reach out, which I will speak about a little bit more later before I end this, because I do think it's important to bring people into conversation properly, not just in the comments, but also face-to-face conversation. But we'll speak a bit more about that later.
Yeah, I just want to say lastly as well is people suffer from mental health issues. So in recovery, there's people that go down the channel of the 12 steps, and that's really their way of recovering. But people have other things that maybe neurodiverge. No, is it
Neurodiversity, yeah.
Yeah, so might have other conditions, and I use outside help as well. So I engage with a counsellor on a weekly basis. I use support workers, and I use just outside agencies whenever I can if I need to. If I'm really struggling, there's the Samaritans and other agencies as well. It's important to know that it's not easy. It's not easy to live a sober life, and generally life can be difficult for anyone, whether you're an addict or not.
Life is chaos.
It is chaos. It is chaos, and there's a lot of support out there.
This world is basically like Noah's Ark, isn't it? There's a big storm, and we've all boarded the boat, and we're all on it together, aren't we? And there's lots of different animals on that boat.
Yeah.
And it's it's stormy outside
Mm.
and it's very rough seas, but
Mm.
we just have to do the best that we can, don't we? But right, okay. So on to the next question, Ben. So what I'd like to know, and obviously for the viewers, did you have any coping mechanisms or strategies to help on your journey of recovery, whether it be whilst you was recovering or after you've recovered?
Mm.
Um, you know, if so, what were they? What are they? Can you just kind of give us an insight into what that looks like?
Yeah, so when I first got sober, I was very lost in life, and I almost used the alcohol. It gave me sort of liquid courage to do things. So when I put the alcohol down, I realised um, how I could say I use alcohol to function and allowed me to be one with the world.
So alcohol was kind of giving you a great time.
Yeah,
So excuse the term. So obviously it's kind of like going down a slide and having a great time and using your balls as brakes,
pretty much.
basically,
Yeah, if
isn't
I
it?
use
So
that,
you're having a
yeah.
great time until it's time to put the brakes on, and then you
Mm.
realise, oh my God, I've literally just hit the self-destruct button.
Mm.
Yeah, and so you're now in physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual pain. Is that correct?
Spot on.
Spot on. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what exactly did you do? Like, did you go for walks? Did you, did you engage in things that you loved, or in fact, did you have, no motivation, no passion, no drive? Would you procrastinate all the time?
Yeah. I would procrastinate a lot. I didn't know who I was, what I wanted. I could not make decisions. Inside, my nervous system was shot. Could be from the alcohol abuse, could be a combination of living life without alcohol and just being completely lost in life. It kept me going for so long. It was almost like the spinach with Popeyes when he opens the spinach and out there and he's like this new person. And
It's like Jim Carrey in The Mask, isn't it?
yeah,
Once he
it
puts that
was,
mask on, he's
yeah.
having a party, isn't he? Like,
Yeah,
as soon as that mask
yeah.
comes off,
Somebody stop me.
he's sat home again in his pajamas,
Mm.
crying, kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Or Superman or whoever.
Anything, yeah.
Yeah,
Anything.
and so I started to listen to people and started to force myself. They kept saying your positive thoughts will follow taking action, but I was waiting for my thoughts to become more positive
Yeah.
before taking action. But I started getting moments of, okay, I'll go for a walk here. And I was very overweight and I really struggled with walking. But I started doing a few thousand steps a day and then that started to increase. So it wasn't natural for me. Some people, they come into recovery and good luck to them. And it's great to see that they come in and they engage in running and they'll do a marathon or a triathlon. For me, that wasn't my journey. And so I started to walk and started to walk a bit further and further and further to the point where I was quite comfortable walking 5-6 miles.
Wow.
Flat terrain.
Brilliant.
And I started losing a bit of weight and feeling a bit better within myself.
So, sorry to jump in, but so would you say that physical exercise played a major role, or did it play somewhat of a role which was certainly enough to make a difference?
It made it, yeah, physical exercise is important, but there's also the spiritual side, the emotional side.
Yeah, certainly.
So I was getting fitter physically, but I wasn't engaging in other areas where I should have maybe been doing more meditations.
Okay.
So I started eventually meditating a bit, and that was helping. And the suggestions in the program I started to take. So the praying and reaching out to other people in recovery. So these things are starting to become embedded within me, and doing more physical exercise was definitely helping, and it still continues to help. I don't always have the motivation to do it, but I feel when I do it, I don't regret it. So
I'm going to throw a curveball at you
Yeah.
because if you've watched the part one, you'll know that I explained that this is completely organic. You know, Ben doesn't know any of these questions. We've had a brief chat, haven't we?
Yeah.
Just to outline, you know, why he's here to talk. But these questions certainly he doesn't know. I'd just like to know what physical problems did alcoholism cause? What were the physical problems, would you say? I mean, are we talking putting weight on?
Yeah, put a lot of weight on. So I put on about 5 stone. I'm not sure what that is in kilograms, but I put on about 5 stone. I've lost a fair bit of it. I've still got a way to go. So I lost quite a lot of that walking, but I put a bit back on. Like you get, you know, we all can get lazy at times.
Yeah.
But physical as well. I was always out of breath, especially when I started walking initially.
Did you ever sort of like start shaking and things like that?
Yeah,
So
my
you
hands
did.
were shaking.
So your nervous system was
Nervous
effectively
system,
affected
yeah.
by that too.
Yeah, my mum would say my eyes were yellow from the drinking.
Okay.
My hands are always shaking.
Probably like a pale complexion.
Pale, yeah, because I never went out, so I was always isolated. So I was always as white as a ghost.
Would you say that alcoholism, certainly for you, I don't know if this covers the spectrum of everybody, but for yourself, would that affect your sleeping patterns? Would you get up late? Or would you be getting up early to have a drink? Like how?
Yeah.
How did it?
I was drinking around the
present
clock, and by the end, I'd lost my job drinking, so I wasn't working. I lost a lot of self-respect, so I was just drinking around the clock, and
was your sleep? So you wasn't sleeping at all?
I was sleeping, but it was more to black out. I'd pass out. I'd drink until I blacked out,
Right.
and then I would sleep, and then get up and drink again, and
Right.
so my life was just consuming alcohol, essentially getting my next, then go to the shop. I'd only leave to go to the shop to get alcohol. And
so would you say that you'd become very isolated?
Very isolated, yeah. I lost contact with my family and my friends.
And did your family know what was going on, or were you secretive? Like, does it create like secrecy?
They knew what was going on because I blamed them a lot for my problems with alcohol, until I really realised that it's an illness. I'm powerless over alcohol.
I'd need to ask. Sorry. So you mentioned that you blame them a lot. So even if, let's say, I'll come up with this scenario. Let's say you've had a troubled childhood, right? And let's say, you know, your parents were not great. This is just an example. So if you had a parent or both parents or whatever, even if that was the case and your childhood was somewhat damaged, which affected yourself, is that something that would be, is you constantly reaching to the bottle as a grown man their fault?
No, I mean, I don't just blame, at first, initially, I'd blame people for, whether it's family or friends or my upbringing, for the way I consumed alcohol. But I never felt right within from an early age. So I believe I would always have been an alcoholic, whether I had a good childhood. Just because of my emotions within it contributed to perhaps how I felt internally, but I always felt there was a missing link.
So would you say that it's critical for those watching to recognise the difference between what may have been the initiator, the driving force at the first point in time, versus actually still taking responsibility for your own actions once you know, reach a point, maybe a point of age or a point of how long you've been doing it for, to the point where you say, maybe I can't keep blaming my past or the fact that I was married and I got divorced, or, you know, I lost a child, or, you know, there's so many traumas that, you know, we can go through, and, you know, to have an addiction is obviously a really sad thing. But would you say that part of the healing process is also to, again, you know, intimately self-reflect on a deep level, and realize that maybe, you know, it may be something did start the fire, but the fact that this fire is still burning and I'm fanning that fire is not necessarily still linked in a constant
Yeah, with
way.
with the 12 steps, we go through steps 4 and step 5, so we go down to causes and conditions. And I mean, I can't blame family for my alcoholism. We do the steps 4 and 5 to look at the reasons why we turn to substances, and a lot of it is my perception of the world. They say it's the disease of perception, and I very much agree with that. It's how I see the things, and underneath it all is an undercurrent of all of it is fear, self-centered fear, and for that to be removed, we engage in the 12-step program. And because if I keep blaming other people, whether it's justified or not, it leads to resentment, and it leads to me being in pain.
Yeah.
So it's I've got to get self-acceptance of who I am, or what I am, and what I am, and follow on this journey. Otherwise, the resentments, I'll be fanning these resentments, and I'll turn to drink or erratic behaviour.
So, moving on to the next question, then, are there any common misconceptions about alcoholics or alcoholism that you'd like to clear up? Is there anything where you think maybe everybody gets tarred with the same brush, or everybody gets viewed in a certain way? Is there anything where you feel that maybe you need to speak out? And because let's face it, it's a community of people, isn't it? It's a community of people. Is there anything that you feel that people should sort of just be a little bit mindful of?
I think there are misconceptions of addicts and alcoholics. One of them really is that we're weak-willed, and we're not able to handle our emotions, and that is to a certain extent. People may think we're neurotic, where we can't handle our emotions, and we can't do life, and I think that's just a manifestation of the spiritual malady that we feel within. That there's just this void inside, and we use external things to validate us, whether that's drink, relationships, buying a new car, anything just to fix that void. But alcoholics, when they continue on this journey and they live a spiritual way of life, it doesn't block them. So they're not so erratic in the way they behave. They're more neutral, and they're more able to be helpful to other people. So we're really walking around with an illness that we didn't really know we had, may not have felt right from an early age, and throughout life. But then we get to the rooms and we realise, oh, perhaps this is the missing link. This is why we've been behaving the way we've been behaving. And we do change on this journey. So I think a misconception is that we are weak and we're selfish.
Do you think that selfishness is a player, though? Do you think it is a playing part? It has a role in addiction?
Yeah, I think it does. I think the selfishness is a result of the self-centered fear that we experience as alcoholics inside. I mean, I was saying to you before that externally I might look normal, but inside I'm shaking like a leaf.
Yeah.
If I'm not connected to this program and engaging in it and taking on the suggestions, it renders me unable to hold down a job without a drink. It means I'm isolating. I don't want to see people. I don't think about other people apart from myself. So I am selfish, but that's from the fact that there's a lot of fear within, and yeah, that's
So ultimately, it's comes down to a case of the inability to regulate
yeah,
and harness your emotions.
yeah. I struggle to live life on life's terms.
Yeah,
So
and there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people out there who do
mm,
struggle, but that doesn't mean to turn to alcohol, does it? It doesn't mean to turn to drugs. I'm not criticizing those who have and who do in a broad spectrum. I'm not saying that, but I think there are other ways, aren't there? You know, whether it means getting involved in walking, or joining a walking group, or lifting weights, or learning to paint, or learning to play an instrument, or engaging in purer things. Obviously, it's a choice as well, I think. Would that be a fair? There's always a choice to pick up a bottle or a can, or
no. That's the
so that's a
misconception as well,
misconception.
because we're powerless. Step on it, we're powerless over alcohol, and our life is unmanageable. So essentially, the powerless of alcoholism. Once we put the alcohol in our system,
So then it's took hold of you. Then so the choice
they call it
disappears.
the phenomenon of craving. So once we have one, we want another. There's actually science behind it. It's there's actually a diagram that I've been given where it's a disease of alcoholism, and it's to do with the without looking at the diagram now, but it's to do with acetones in your liver, and that's so we can't process it like other people.
So when you say want,
yeah,
is it more need? You're more needing.
Yeah, we're and that's so we've got the physical craving, and we've got
the need.
Yeah, we've got the mental obsession. So the mental obsession, essentially, once we can't stay away from the alcohol on our own power, and once we have put the alcohol in our system, we need another and another. We can't stay away from it on our own self-will. We can be very strong-willed in other areas of our life, but once we've taken the alcohol from our system and we're not drinking it, there's only a matter of time before we return to the alcohol. And that's, we'll call it the emotional barometer as well. So if our emotions become too elevated, so we start getting resentful, we start getting fearful, that's where we've got to be careful, because that's when people relapse. So it's almost staying below that barometer. How we stay below that barometer is to engage in the 12-step process. So that's helping others, praying, meditating. I have to be careful of my boundaries, who I spend time with.
So social groups are a big
social
factor.
groups, yeah.
What about what you watch?
What I watch,
certain films you may watch, certain music you may listen to.
What I watch, what I see, it all can trigger me.
Right.
So,
and that's a very interesting point, because that certainly is not a common point which is really ever raised, is it?
No.
And especially with an alcoholic person. Like, if you used to speak to an alcoholic person, the odds are that they're going to say, "Oh, but I best not watch this film with you because I know it's about drugs and drinking." It's
no, I mean, if you're
if
you're a recovered alcoholic and you're working this program, I can walk down this wine and spirits aisle, no beers aisle, no problem.
Right. But if you was an alcoholic, then it's almost impossible.
Yeah, if I'm not working a 12-step program and I'm not living a spiritual way of life, like that emotional barometer, and when I mentioned that we have this mental obsession. Once we've stopped drinking, we can't stay stopped.
Yeah.
We'll always return to the alcohol, and and so yeah, it's not an easy journey, but it's a journey worthwhile, and that's why it's important for me to help others in recovery.
Yeah.
Because they're suffering from an illness that they might perhaps not even know what they've got. Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to the next question. I'd just like to know, how can society better support individuals in recovery? But before you answer that, when I say society, I think I mean the broad spectrum. I think that what I'm asking is that not just medical professionals, but also everybody, like people, if they was to see, somebody like a family member, but they knew that they are trying, like how can we all help?
Yeah, I feel I'm quite passionate about what you related about the medical profession. There's not much transparency between the medical profession and Alcoholics Anonymous and alcoholism. I asked a psychiatrist this once, and he said that it's because there's not enough funding, which is it's understandable. Like going back to the last question when we mentioned about being unmanageability and we're powerless over alcohol. If you go to see the doctor or someone sort of customer facing at the GP, they will, like an addiction nurse, they'll give you like a drink diary and they just tell you how to regulate your drinks. And some of the detox centres, they detox you, but they don't really give you the information of why you are unable to stop drinking on your own power. So
so the support system in the general medical field would you say that that's relatively poor?
I would say so, knowing what I know in recovery. For someone who's new, they might feel like they're getting a lot of support by seeing their GP and then working with someone that can help them regulate their alcoholism. So at first, it might, someone that who's new, who's fresh in, who's got a problem with drinking, they're going to see their GP. They might feel like, oh, this is great, or they've gone to a detox centre. Oh, this is fantastic. I'm able to detox. And most of the time, if they're not engaging in the 12-step process, not going to Alcoholics Anonymous, they go in and then before you know it, they're drinking again.
Yeah.
So it's difficult for families because obviously they care for the individual, but they can only do so much. So that's why I recommend that to engage in a service like Alcoholics Anonymous, where you've got people that have suffered the same problem.
Yeah. So what do you think that they, moving forward, if you was to send a message out there, what do you think that could be done differently, better? What do you think could elevate the system? Like what was missing? What do you feel was missing? And I know that obviously you've done the 12-step program, and you're in a much better space. So obviously something's worked, but how can it be improved?
For me, I think they need someone who's a recovered alcoholic, or recovering, whatever you want to call it, or someone who suffers from addiction should be working full time in a medical field. If, for instance, as well, you've got occupational health in workplaces, or maybe someone who's at university that is struggling with addiction, I feel that there should be someone in all these areas, in a workplace, at a university, at college, school, because some people suffer from addiction from primary school.
Yeah.
You get people that are taking drugs at a very young age now.
Yeah.
There should be somewhere in all these areas that have suffered from addiction, and they can educate the people that are suffering from the addiction. They should educate them and say, look, this is your problem. Moderating your drink when you're powerless over it, it's not going to happen. It's not going to be a solution if you're the real alcoholic or you're a real addict. Some people can stay sober on willpower. Some people have the choice whether to drink or not. I haven't got the choice. I'm always going to return to a drink or a drug. no matter, no matter, how much willpower I've got. So I feel a solution would be to have people that have suffered the same predicament in these areas of schools, etc.
So when you have been obviously to your meetings, would you say, because obviously you've obviously spoke to and heard a spectrum of different people and their experiences, would you say, and maybe maybe you don't know the answer to this question, again it's organic, but would you say that the way that a person is being brought up, in the sense of, if the mother or father or both of, or grandparents who've lived with them, or whoever, would what they do, would that have an effect on somebody becoming an addict? So, if the mum and dad are doing, drugs or alcohol, or versus them not doing drugs or alcohol, would you say that makes any difference? Is there any impact at all?
The answer to that, and my view on that, is I don't know.
You don't know, Ralph?
My parents aren't alcoholic.
Okay.
They're not alcoholic.
So that kind of answers part of a question, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it's not the answer, but it's
No.
kind of given. Part of the answer is not in every case. Then no, it doesn't necessarily mean just because your parents aren't an alcoholic or an addict of any kind that you're not going to be.
Yeah, it's not. It's almost like someone who's diabetic. You might be diabetic, but no one else in your family suffers from type 1 diabetes.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned, my parents are not alcoholic, and I know plenty of people in recovery who immediate family haven't got addiction issues, but I also know people that the family have had addiction issues. I know people have had brilliant upbringings that still they've turned to alcohol. So I just think it's almost like a lottery. Like it's a lottery. There is alcoholism addiction in my not my immediate family, but widespread family. I'm talking.
Yeah. So can I ask? So when we spoke about people being supportive, whether it be in the medical field, or friends, family members, do you think that the general people who are engaging with somebody who they know is an alcoholic, do you think that they could be more supportive if they're not being, or if they're not being, should people have a greater understanding, whether it be the people who aren't the alcoholics themselves, so they need to be more sort of sympathetic, or alternatively, the alcoholic person needs to be a little bit more mindful of causing a lot of stress here to these individuals. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I think you have to get to that point of surrender and realise that you are causing, you're causing havoc in other people's lives. In other people's lives, and there is a point where it's like I've got to take action here.
Okay.
But going back, I don't always feel that there's enough transparency in terms of once you get to say a recovery room like Alcoholics Anonymous, you start to know what you're facing, going, oh, okay, I've got a serious problem here. But you can go to the sort of the outside world, and when I first got here, I didn't know what my problem was.
No,
I just thought I just had a drink problem. I couldn't stop drinking, but I didn't realise I was powerless over it. I thought I was weak-willed.
Do you think though that I'm not going to ask you about the support your family gave you, because I don't want it to be personal.
No,
I'm just more interested in what your take, what your dynamic would be if in your mind, if your family was versus wasn't supportive, would that have made any difference at all? to anything that you may have done? I know it's a very sort of
Mm.
broad generalisation, but do you feel that if your mum or your dad was to put their arms around you and say, son, you know, we're here for you, we see that you're suffering and we don't want you to suffer and we love you, and, you know, and kind of really getting that deep spiritual connection with you, do you feel that would have helped you to let's say put the lid back on the bottle?
It did to a certain extent until I wasn't able to stop drinking. So I think any sort of
Okay.
compassion from a family can almost hinder you because you're always using them as validation, and you can only stay sober for so long. So I don't know. I mean, you have to get to that point where I think it's pure and simple. You know, I'm not well here. I need help.
Yeah.
And you have to have that willingness. So I really don't know how the dynamics of a family system, how that would affect.
So even though compassion may have been exercised towards yourself, ultimately the bottle would always win.
The bottle would always win. It's too powerful. And I do feel as well is it would be very beneficial if there was more political influence on this. So perhaps representatives in the member of parliament that would be able to speak more openly about addiction and the seriousness of it. We hear statistics, these amount of people have died, but and people that suffer from addiction, and you see documentaries all the time on it. But it would be good for them to really delve into the reasons why people are suffering from addiction, and having that televised or being in the public domain will help people to understand the predicament that we're in society, and it's global. You know, people suffer from addiction all around the world. It's not just in the UK. So it's like the Alcoholics Anonymous, like I mentioned, in over 100 countries now. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we shall move on to the last question. And been very, very informative so far. Thank you, Ben. Okay, so like I said, it's our last question. So, looking back, is there anything which you wish that you would have known, could have known, should have known, anything along that kind of line? Is there anything that you think would have helped towards prevention or cure?
I wish I'd known what I was facing. I wish I'd known what I know now. I wish I'd known how my unmanageable life, what's been manifesting from a very early age.
Yeah.
And I do see a correlation between my emotions and my alcoholism, and you know, the illness has been progressing from an early age. So I wish I'd known what I was suffering from the outlet, really. Then I could have got help from a lot sooner than I did. There's people, generations of people, thousands of years that have died from addiction, from alcoholism, and not knowing what their problem is. So luckily, I know there's a solution, but I could have caught it at an earlier age.
Would you say that there's any kind of symptoms to look out for anybody who may have a child who's, you know, growing up, you know, or a partner, you know, or a family member? I mean, do you think there are any signs or symptoms, and they could be, you know, spotting like secrecy, or, you know, slipping out here and slipping out there, and, you know, saying things that don't quite make sense or add up? Do you think that there's anything that anybody could be mindful of?
Yeah, if someone suffering from addiction, they could be quite secretive. So they could go out, they could hide bottles, might be staying out later, so they're drinking at the pub, or but going to my emotional nature, I was very restless unless I had the alcohol. and I wanted to be on my own, isolated.
So that would be something for someone to look out for. So
behaviour.
Real behavioural issues that are sort of more deep rooted.
Yeah. So you can get kind of short tempered if you're not getting your fix.
Okay.
Like people were like, like I say, they might go to the pub or they might drink in a separate room, or just isolate so they can get their fix. But my behaviours from an early age kind of mirrors what a lot of people have felt in recovery. And like I go back, the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous that we have, there's stories at the back as well. So the first 164 pages goes through the 12-step process. And after that, it's got stories, and identified to a lot of the stories at the back about how people felt inside.
Yeah.
So it's an inside job in the sense that for us to get well, we need to change from the inside. But it's also an inside job in the sense that my insides were never felt right. I always felt dirty on the inside. So
when you say you felt dirty on the inside, what do you mean?
From an early age, I was very restless. I was irritable and discontent with life. I'd never felt one with the world. I was never in the present. I was always fearful of the future.
You was even back then, you was in no man's land, wasn't
No man's land, yeah. I was just sort of plodding on in life, taking, we say, geographical. So I was all over the country, taking different jobs, moving from different, if this would fix me, this relationship would fix me. But inside, I just never felt right from a young age.
So the inability to be able to settle down, to ground yourself.
To ground myself.
So there was no real earth wire there. You were simply a live wire that was just dangling out the ceiling, creating sparks and causing damage to yourself, ultimately.
Just creating fires everywhere.
Yeah.
Say neurotic. So I had a neurotic personality. I was unable to deal with my emotions and make sensible decisions. I harm people.
Yeah.
So all these kind of behaviours definitely a manifestation of that unmanageability that I felt inside and that other people feel inside in recovery. So if you were to get the big book, the stories at the back are fantastic to know you're not alone. And this has been the book's been out since the 1930s.
And it's called The Big Book.
We call it The Big Book, but the book itself is called Alcoholics Anonymous. The fellowship, the meetings are just the meetings. The actual big book is Alcoholics Anonymous.
Right. So Alcoholics Anonymous, the name, is actually derived from a book.
From the big book,
which is commonly known as the Big Book in the.
We call it the Big Book.
World.
We call it the Big Book.
Right.
Not sure. There's reasons why. Some of the fews will know why.
Yeah.
I'm not an expert on this, but all I can say is the book itself is called Alcoholics Anonymous.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Ben.
Thank you.
So Ben doesn't realise that I'm actually going to ask him one more question.
Oh,
okay. He's a bit shocked by that.
I thought that was it. Then I was ready for.
I like to.
I was hoping to get a cup of tea from him.
Yeah. Well, I like to strike when they're not expecting.
Oh, I have to wait for a cup of tea. Then.
Okay. So right. So my final question, which is the 11th question. Yeah. At the 11th hour.
It's like the 19th hour, isn't it?
It is.
I can't have a beer though, can I?
No, you can't have a beer. And you cannot. Well, you can, but that would be a bit stupid, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Right, so this is what I want to ask. We're going to move on to a bit of a positive now. I want you to tell me and tell everybody out here who's watching, tell us, because we don't know, how has your life changed? How do you feel now? And now, I know life's not perfect. Nobody's life's perfect. I'm interested in the only comparison between the then and the now.
The changes that have happened, for me, there's been changes. There's been positive things in the sense that I'm now communicating with my family. I'm engaging more in nature and getting outside. I've had struggles with my mental health. Some people come into recovery and they have their struggles, of course. Living sober is not easy. Some people really evolve and their life just take off. For me, it's not been like that. There's been a lot of resistance to this recovery process because, like I mentioned earlier, when I got in, I wasn't completely surrendered, and it wasn't like hands are up, I've surrendered. I want to give up alcohol. It was oh,
It
no.
was difficult.
It was difficult.
And the fact of the matter is, if you want to lose weight, it's difficult.
Yeah.
If you want to learn a new language, it's difficult. If you want to learn to play a new instrument, it's difficult. If you want to be in a relationship, and that's difficult. If you want to have a baby, that's difficult. And everything is difficult, isn't it? But how are you feeling now? How does Ben feel now? What's really changed in you? Again, nothing's perfect, but what's really elevated? Has your mood elevated? Are you happier more than you was in the sense of is the ability to stay happy on that threshold a bit more?
I feel happier, but I do have dual diagnosis, so I do have extreme anxiety and depression. So emotional, what do you call it? Emotional unstable personality disorder.
So there's been a few things going on, burning in the background.
Yeah, so at the moment of time is I currently don't hold down employment because of my mental health, but I've stayed sober and I attend meetings and I help people when I can. So I do have more of a worthwhile presence, and I'm able
That's
to.
a lovely way to put it.
I'm able to record this, so I might not get what I want in life, but I'm not like who I was. So
you've spiritually grown.
I've grown, but I'm also made a lot of mistakes in recovery where I've rested on my laurels, so to speak, and I've almost gone back to where I've been in the sense that emotionally and spiritually I've become very unwell in recovery. So this is the one day at a time process. If I'm not engaging in the program on a daily basis and doing all the suggestive things, the meditation, praying to this higher power, helping others, and really self-analyzing, meditating, then the wheels can come off, and have come off, and I've been in some dire straits. But overall, there's been progress, but there's been a lot of resistance as well. I haven't taken to this like a duck to water, and I have to admit this, I haven't. But when I have done it and I have been engaging, I do feel more happiness and more freedom within. I have the freedom to live in the present, because if I'm not engaging in this stuff, I'm dwelling on the past, I'm fearful of the future. So it's almost, if only is the past, what if is the future? What if this happens? What if this happens? If only I'd done this, I only should have, would have, could have. So
the future really being anxiety, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's all that is, isn't it? It's just anxiety. The past is really sort of nostalgia, isn't it?
Yeah,
you know, and
depression.
You're looking back, aren't you? It's the what you could have done, what you should have done, how you could have done it, why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do that? And again, the future is obviously anxiety, but I'd like to say the only thing we really have is now, but even now is a constant flowing stream that's constantly flowing in one direction. Which would be what we call the future, but really the future sort of doesn't exist no more than the past does, and the now is an ever, like I say, an ever evolving, moving thing, which we can't sort of touch. It's it's all about it's within, isn't it, Ben? It's totally and utterly within yourself.
Yeah, happiness is the treasure. The treasure is within,
and health.
So if they say it's an inside job. So if you want to get well and you want to live in the now, essentially living in the now is that's when our thoughts slow down, and the thoughts, whether it's at a subconscious or conscious level, our thoughts are essentially, and the perception of the world are the things that are causing a lot of the pain. So, and then we pick up a drink or substance, or our behaviour changes, become more erratic. For us to live in the present, it's engaging in this stuff. And I can tell you from the bottom of my heart and the honest truth, there is a solution, but we really have to grasp this, and we've got to have that willingness. Without the willingness, we're not going to get well.
Well, I'd like to say something. I think that you've done extremely well. I think that you should be extremely proud of yourself. And I think that the journey which you have embarked on has been, as you know, an extremely difficult journey. It's been a journey of heart, mind, body, spirit, right into your soul, right into the core foundation of everything that you had become at the time. And it's not your defining self whatsoever. There is hope, and there is help. And I think that what you've done here has really put a position out there which is certainly going to help others, if not give them some sort of insight and education, and give them that hope and hopefully the motivation to help others. And my last question, question number 12, is, Ben, does the bottle always win?
It does, if we're not got the willingness to put down the drink, to get to a meeting, to engage in the 12-step progress, and actually, go, I've had enough now. I've had enough. If we live along spiritual lines on a daily basis, the bottle won't win. But
so, does the bottle always win?
Not always. No, not if we're engaging in this stuff.
So there you go. You've heard it straight from the horse's mouth.
One day at a time.
One day at a time. It doesn't always win. It will consume you. But again, there is hope out there, isn't there? And Ben is he's a prime example of that. And it takes a lot of strength of character, doesn't it, to do it, and many other things, and that support system.
Yeah.
And I think what you've done is very, very commendable. And I commend you. I bow to you, Ben. I bow to you. Namaste. And well done, Ben. And I just want to give you a handshake. Well done. Thank you, Ben. And thank you for watching. And if you watched both parts of this and spent the time to sit and listen and engage, and I hope that has made some sort of impact and will make some sort of impact on your life and the way that you view things. And you may not have necessarily been or are an alcoholic or an addict of any kind, and that doesn't matter. This channel is about the journey of the mind, body, soul, the spirit, and it's just about becoming one with nature and understanding that life is difficult. And I'd like anybody to reach out in the comments, and if anybody would like to do one of these sit-down interviews, it's very organic, and it's something that I do believe will help others. So if you are interested, please contact me at the email provided in the bio, and maybe you can next be in the hot seat in a place of beauty, who knows. And until next time, take care.